Hey everyone, Mr. DVB here, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing Cherry, which is the newest film from directors Anthony Russo and Joe Russo, the people who brought us Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and a few other films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This movie is quite a change of pace for them. It is not a superhero film. It has about 35 times less the budget of Avengers Endgame, and it stars Tom Holland, Sierra Bravo, who is an actress I have not seen in anything before, and a few other people that you guys may or may not recognize. This is a movie that, going into it, I knew pretty much nothing about. I went into this quite blind. I had seen the reviews, however, and this is a movie that has been getting pretty negative slash mixed reviews. It stands in the high 30s right now on Rotten Tomatoes, and the low 6s on IMDb. So this is not very well reviewed. And I gotta be honest, I enjoyed this movie quite a lot. I think this is a very well made film. It was very unique, which is one thing that stood out to me pretty early on, was just the style of this movie. It has a very specific, stylistic feel and look that stood out to me from a lot of other movies. Definitely from any of the other films that they've made, because while I do thoroughly enjoy the MCU films they directed, those are, pretty by the numbers directed comic book movies. They don't have anything that really stands out from just a visual standpoint or anything like that. And Cherry was definitely their film to really show what they can do when it's something that they have complete creative control over. And there was some really unique stuff in here that I liked quite a bit. I thought the movie was well shot. There was some good cinematography here. It wasn't, amazing across the entire movie. I did still think it was well shot, but there was just some sequences that had some really cool cinematography, in my opinion. Some shots where the camera would kind of move, kind of like from like an eagle eye view, which I just thought looked really nice, and those shots I thought were quite well done. And just a well-made movie across the board. I really like the way that they handled the character's personal story. I haven't even really talked about what it's about yet. The movie follows a character who is based on a real-life, war veteran who wrote a novel called Cherry while he was in prison. This movie follows a similar story to that. In this movie, we follow Tom Holland, who plays this young man who joins the army and experiences PTSD afterwards. He becomes a heavy drug addict and then resorts to robbing banks. And it's quite an interesting story, honestly. Some people might call it somewhat cliche at times. I just thought it was really well done. I thought the way that they handled the PTSD and addiction parts of the story were done quite tastefully. Overall, the movie was definitely darker than I thought it was going to be. With what it showed. For example, some of the war scenes, which were pretty limited overall, but they were quite brutal. Just what they showed, as far as dead bodies. You see a couple burned bodies, and it was pretty gruesome. Which I'm glad they didn't shy away from that stuff, because I do think this is one of those films where they easily could have toned that stuff back, but they didn't. And I think it serves the movie overall. As far as cons go, the length can be felt a little bit at times. I'm somebody who personally, if I'm into a movie, I don't really care if it's long. Even if I do think the movie gets a little bit slow at times, if I am still enjoying it, I don't really care if a film's, 2.5 hours. This movie's 2 hours and I think 12 minutes once you remove credits, which isn't too long in my opinion, honestly. I almost prefer movies that are like, over 2 hours. But there were some times where I felt the movie's pacing was getting a bit slow, but it picks up every once in a while. My only other real con, to be honest, and I'm sure I could pick some minor things and whatnot, but the only other thing that really stood out to me that I think would have helped the movie more was the war sequences, which is obviously what leads to the downward spiral that this character goes through. There wasn't too much there. There was, I think, about a 20-minute section where he was actually deployed overseas. And I think they honestly could have maybe put a bit more time into that, just so that, when he comes back home and he starts to have PTSD and whatnot, that stuff could have been developed on a bit more. It could have felt like there was kind of more backstory to it, so we truly got why he was like this. I mean, it still makes sense, right? The movie still obviously tells us why he's like this, but I just think they could have spent a little bit more time showing us those kind of events, because the whole bank robbery stuff, it's probably about 40 minutes of the movie in the towards the end, and I think that maybe could have been trimmed down. Some other stuff could have been trimmed down and kind of just change around the length of certain parts of the film a bit, but overall, still thought it was well made. The one aspect, though, that stood out to me the most above anything else was Tom Holland, who gives, without a doubt, in my opinion, his best performance of his career. He's an actor that, I mean, I've always liked him, but I kind of pick on him a few times, mostly just because of all of his fangirls and whatnot. And I think this is definitely a role, though, where he's kind of, proven to me that he can be a fantastic actor in a dramatic role. Like, he really surprised me with his performance in this movie. I thought he was excellent. And Ciara Bravo, who, as I said earlier, I haven't seen before, she was great in this movie as well. I thought they worked well together on screen, and seeing where both of their characters go, just the way they handled the drug stuff, it gets pretty gross and dark at times, but again, like I said, it's tastefully done, and I thought that was all really well made. And just as I was saying earlier too, with the whole unique style of the film, it might be considered odd and weird for some people. I can understand that. For me, I just thought it was kind of a cool style, honestly. Just the way that they would change around the colors and whatnot. Aspect ratios, I think it only really changed for one part of the movie when he was going through training, but I don't know, I liked those things. I thought it just helped it kind of stand out more. And this is a movie where the characters, doing drugs and stuff like that, right? So I think it was kind of appropriate to have sort of a weird style to the movie, rather than just telling it in a very generic way. Because I think if this was told in a very plain, straightforward manner, the movie honestly probably would have felt quite generic overall.
You're gonna make it through this. I love you.
But yeah, all in all, really liked the film. I do recommend you guys check it out, whether that's in theaters if you're comfortable with that, or if that's even an option where you live. It's on Apple TV Plus if you want to watch it, streaming wise. When it comes to streaming services, for me, there's just so many, and so many movies are on different streaming services that all cost, $10 a month. It's kind of a mess. And then there's obviously, streaming services like HBO, which are exclusive to one country. The whole thing is just crappy in my opinion. That's why I'm team theater, and I can't wait for theaters to be opened everywhere, so that, we can finally just sit down and watch some really big movies. But yeah, do recommend checking this film out. I did think it was well made, and hope you guys enjoyed this review. I did not do it with a camera because I only feel like doing that, honestly, nowadays for big movies like blockbusters and whatnot. When it's a smaller film like this, I don't really think, me setting up my camera and going through all that kind of stuff is really necessary. I think this gets the point across. So thank you all for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.